Yo, 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 what the fuck is up? It's XZ McKenzie here, and hey, here it is. This is it. Fucking the last race since the big meltdown of the PSN network, but you know what the fuck's up? It's London, and this race is in two segments, as you will see. This first one is 7 laps, the first one is 20 laps, and the second segment is 20 laps, so together it's 40 laps. But this, yeah, you'll see. Whatever. So here we are, and as you can tell, the field is a little big for this race. 11 people in this race. It was a great fucking race. As everyone, you're gonna see a lot of contact in this, and fucking just people bouncing off the walls. Good tight racing, as we're on board with Mike Kanzi in third. King Best looked like he had the best car all race, and Sideways and Kanzi and Shag, as those would be the top four cars throughout the race, and great fucking racing. And as you see in the video, the background is not catching up. The buildings aren't there, and sometimes the track ain't there, but I don't know. It just couldn't handle it. But 11 cars in this race. Some people that are just making their first start, like 7th place STV. And that's about it. Actually, I think A-Hill too. But here's King Best as he's driving perfectly around this track. And Sideways is trying to catch him here. And there's Kanzi and there's Shag. And the gap back to Jordan, as you can tell there, is pretty big. And if you look on the map on the bottom left, you can tell how big the gap is by counting the dots and seeing where 5th place Jordan is. As you can tell, it's only been a minute in this fucking race, and we're on lap 4. The first lap of every race, of course, is a little pace lap just to get everyone in the right starting spot and going. As you see Sideways here, under pressure from Kanzi for 3rd, and Shag just chilling, watching, and waiting. Stalking. For someone to fuck up, as we're going to jump back to see what's going on with 5th, as you see Jordan here in the blue car, and I think Amp Energy up to 6th, and we're going to go back on board with Kanzi, as he seems to be catching just a little bit right there up to Sideways, or maybe not. Sideways is pulling away, and King, here's the view back to 2nd, which King's pretty much in his own dimension right now. Not that big of a gap, but here it would be. As this track was really small, and you can tell it takes about maybe 50 seconds to get around this bitch. As there's Kanzi in 3rd. As the cars are starting to even out now, as Kanzi was on Sideways' ass, but we're going to jump back to Jordan, who's in 5th. And we're going to go to the back of the pack here. This is STV, and he and One Fast Evo are having one hell of a race, and Boogeyman is back there in 10th, still getting familiar with this car, as you see. Nice paint job. Lexus, I think it is. And back in 11th is Amp Assassin. So we're going to jump back up to the top 3. Here's Mike Kanzi, as it looks like Sideways is still continuing to pull away a little bit, and King is pulling away from Sideways and everyone else. As it's pretty much a comfortable gap right here, as you see King driving so smooth for this track. And as you're looking on the map, Amp fucking Assassin is almost a lap down. And in this race, in the first segment, cars do get lapped, but they got it back once the second segment started. And you see Shag coming out of that turn, hitting the wall. Hardest turn on the track, I have to admit. As you see the gap from 3rd to 4th. Shag just bouncing off every fucking wall. And we're going to jump back to King, who's coming out of the turn. But there he is right there. And we're going to fast forward to lap 20, the end of this first segment, because the race really wasn't that racy. I mean, everyone just kind of evenly went out, and that was about that. As here is King going lap 20. He'll win the first segment, but mainly it's just a caution after this, as he is all by himself. He led all the laps in that, and as you see, Kanzi finally got around Sideways, and the only reason why he did was because Sideways misjudged one of the corners and he bounced off the wall, and it pretty much fucked him. As Shag's in 3rd because of it, and Sideways is back in 4th, with Jordan Gates behind him and Boogeyman, who are one lap down. which I also believe A Hill was a lap down. When we showed Shag before, you saw a yellow car behind him. As now, King's going to take the caution flag. As you see STV in the wall. And here's Kanzi taking the caution flag. And not so far after him should be Shag. As Amp Assassin's car is parked on the high side over there, who was experiencing some trouble or something. We don't really know as of right now. And they're sideways taking the yellow, and you see just everyone cooling down, restarting up here. And we're going to restart on lap 22. Now, if you're watching the laps in the top left, don't let it fool you. It's lap 22. Alright, and here they come for the green flag. As Candy's in third. And King Best is still first. Jordan Yates got around Shag for fourth. As you see right there, sideways bounced off the wall again. Candy had nowhere to go. And Jordan Yates goes for a spin over there. Not quite sure how that happened. But as there's King Best, Mike Canty's in second. Sideways is in third after that. Canty had nowhere to go. And we're going to go back to where it's a little more fucking clogged up over here. As you see Shag and fucking A-Hill bouncing off the wall. Boogeyman gets the worst out of that. Shag gets the best as he's up in fourth. Back up to the lead, you see the gap from Canty the King. And Canty the King and King the Canty. As we're going to go back with Jordan. This was a really bullshit part of the race. As you see Jordan going backwards, and he just takes out Canty and sideways. And then he leaves the race. So because of that happening, we decided to throw a yellow flag, because that was just flat out fucking bullshit. As you see, when they come around this turn, we're gonna group up again. But we're not gonna wait in this video. We're gonna fast forward to the part where we get going again. As you see Shag bouncing off the wall right there, and we're gonna fast forward here until the next restart. And here it is. We're gonna go on board with Kanzi here as he gets fucking suckered punched into the wall, and A-Hill, newcomer, is up here in fourth, and Boogeyman's in eighth. As you see him, as fucking Assassins is going all balls deep. Everyone's just bouncing off the fucking wall. Kanzi's back to fifth. Amp Energy's behind him. Steve is behind him. One Fast Evo, and everyone's grouped up. Now keep an eye on Kanzi here, the Nissan car, as he gets bunted into the wall by Amp Energy. And just when you think that would fuck Kanzi, Boogeyman did get involved, and so did Assassin. But we'll see if Kanzi can come back. As we're going to go up to the leaders, and King is pulling away from Shag, as you see here. And pretty much it's a 3-car race right now. As you see Sideways and Shag, we're going to go back with Amp Energy. The battle for 5th place and 4th place, just hell, all race. There's Steve, back in 6th. Assassin back in 9th, losing ground to Kanzi. And Boogeyman, who got caught up in that wreck, really had nowhere to go as he's trying to regroup and come back. As we're watching Kanzi trying to get by One Fast Evo. As he's going to go low, Evo might get into the wall, he doesn't. And here's Shag with a great fucking view, as Sideways is going to go right through the camera. And it looks like King's driving on fucking air. But Amp Energy here, if the camera actually sticked, he got hit into the wall, and that pretty much fucked him up. So we're on board with Kanzi again as he got past One Fast Evo. Setting his sights now on A-Hill. And he's coming, he's charging. As we're going to jump back up to Sideways in a second here. As STV, Kanzi's going to give him a little bump going into the corner. Bumps him right out of the way. Then bumps A-Hill, but A-Hill's coming back, but the wall is there. We'll see who's going to win this little battle coming out of the turn. As A-Hill gets a little into Kanzi, and Kanzi's back up to 4th. Let's see if he can run down the leaders. As you Shag's pretty far ahead. Here's Sideways just going into the turn. And King is pretty much gone. To say the least. As we go on board with him, his car just handled so fucking good throughout this whole fucking race. as it was pretty much he stole the show here, as you see the gap to Sideways, and then the gap to Shag, and then the gap to Kanzi and A-Hill. Kanzi's starting to pull away from A-Hill. There he is. And then coming back also is Boogeyman, who fell back to 10th. There's STV in 7th, One Fast Evo and Amp Assassin, and Amp Energy, who's pretty much really far back. But here's King dominating for another week, as his car just handles so nice through the fucking corners. As you see the gap to 2nd, which that's a pretty good gap right there. And now here's Shag, and Kanzi's really catching up to Shag here, as now Kanzi's in the same picture with him, and you see A-Hill back there, who's pretty far back, losing some ground to Kanzi, but he might come back, and Boogeyman too trying to come back and make a run for it, as now the battle for 7th and 9th is really heating up between One Fast Evo, Steve, Amp Assassin. Yeah, Amp and Assassin. I don't know, Amp Assassin sounds pretty fucking cool, so I might say that a couple times. But here's Steve fucking nailing Assassin out of the way for 8th. I mean, One Fast Evo. We're gonna go back up to Assassin to see where he actually is, which he's pretty far ahead of them. So the battle for 8th, really. As we're gonna go back on board with Shag to see if Kanzi got any closer and see what's going on there. As Kanzi's trying to wheel him in, but with 10 laps to go, anything can happen here. As you see the gap to A-Hill, which he's not that far behind. You know, one mistake could be up there, but for a first race, he's running pretty consistent, top 5. So, as it looks like we got the battle, and there goes Kanzi past Shag. Don't really know what happened there. I think Shag maybe bounced off the wall, and Kanzi took advantage of it. But let's see if Shag can come back, as he's right there, not that far behind. As we go on board with Shag, he's getting into the wall just a little bit, and Kanzi's going. Kanzi bounces off the wall, so does Shag, coming into the really hairpin turn, and Shag's gonna e-brake it through there. But it looks like Kanzi has a little more acceleration than Shag, and that's gonna help him in the long run. But you never know. This track is very tricky. One mistake can cost you big. As you see the gap to Sideways, and apparently we're racing on just black whatever right there. There's nothing there. But after that, we're gonna fast forward to lap 39, see what the fuck's up. As it looks like lap 39 will be 19, but you know, whatever. As you see, King here is catching up to, I believe that might be Steve. Sideways is still 2nd, but as you see, fucking everyone's just plowing into the first turn. Sideways is right there. Right behind Sideways is actually Mike Kanzi. He caught Sideways within the final 2 laps here. Let's see if Kanzi can do anything. And you saw the yellow car that was like invisible. That's Amp Energy. Just sitting there backwards. As Kanzi fucks up going into the turn and clobbered the wall. That's something you can't do. And there's the gap to Shag, who's pretty far back. And there's the gap to Boogeyman. No, Boogeyman right there, who's in 5th. He passed A-Hill, and there's A-Hill. And here we are, lap 20, as you saw our fucking King in that turn. And it looks like Kanzi's trying to catch back up to Sideways, but it's not going to happen, as there's King, who pretty much has this race won, unless he flips or does some crazy fucking shit. But I doubt that's going to happen. As here comes the race for 2nd place. See if Kanzi can do anything with Sideways here. As they're coming into the final turn, it doesn't look like Kanzi's going to have anything for Sideways, as Sideways is going to get another 2nd place run. Kanzi coming back for a top 5, finishing 3rd. And here's the battle between 5th, as Shag will finish 4th. And Boogeyman's under heavy pressure from A-Hill. As here comes A-Hill on the bottom, Boogeyman up high. Let's see who's gonna get 5th. As they both kind of bounce off the wall there. Here comes Boogeyman up high. It's gonna be side by side, but it looks like Boogeyman's gonna get it.